What is most useless item you carry with you all the time? For me, it was this tiny metal spoon on my keychain. My grandma gave it to me when I was 8, saying you never know when you'll need a spoon. I thought it was the dumbest gift ever, but kept it after she passed away 3 years later. Fast forward 15 years, and I'm working at this busy coffee shop downtown called The Daily Grind. My manager Derek was this hardcore control freak who micromanaged absolutely everything. He'd count the register 3 times every single day, watch us through security cameras from his office upstairs, and time our bathroom breaks with a literal stopwatch. The guy made our lives miserable. He'd write people up for being 2 minutes late, dock pay for dropped pastries, and once fired someone for giving a customer an extra pump of syrup without charging for it. Everyone hated working there, but the pay was decent and jobs were hard to find. One particularly busy Tuesday morning, this older homeless guy shuffled in during our rush. He was maybe 60, wearing this torn winter jacket and carrying everything he owned in a beat-up backpack. He approached the counter nervously and asked if he could just get some hot water. I was about to help him when Derek appeared from nowhere and immediately started yelling, "This isn't a soup kitchen!" He shouted loud enough for the whole cafe to hear. "Either buy something or get out right now." The homeless man tried explaining that he had instant oatmeal packets in his backpack and just needed hot water to make breakfast. He even offered to pay 50 cents for it. Derek got even louder, saying this is a business, not a charity, and threatening to call security if he didn't leave immediately. The entire coffee shop went dead silent. Customers were staring in shock as this hungry old man got humiliated for asking for basic human kindness. Derek actually called mall security and had the guy escorted out while he stood there smirking like he'd won some kind of victory. I felt sick watching it happen. The other baristas looked disgusted too, but nobody said anything because we all needed our jobs. Derek went back to his office, acting like nothing happened, while customers whispered about how cruel that was. That afternoon, during the slow period, Derek came down eating this fancy quinoa salad he'd brought from home in an expensive glass container. He was struggling to eat it with our cheap plastic forks that kept snapping in half. The quinoa kept falling through the broken tines, and he was getting visibly frustrated trying to scoop up all the nuts and dried cranberries. He went through 3 forks before giving up and eating with his hands like a caveman. Other customers were starting to notice him making a mess and getting food all over his shirt. He looked embarrassed and angry at the same time. That's when I remembered my grandma's spoon jingling on my keychain. I walked over to Derek's table and said, "Hey, looks like you could use this." I unhooked the tiny metal spoon and handed it to him. Derek looked confused, holding this miniature spoon but desperate enough to try anything. He started eating with it and his whole expression changed. The spoon was perfect for scooping up quinoa and nuts and all the small ingredients. He could actually enjoy his expensive salad instead of fighting with broken plastic. He looked up at me with genuine surprise and said, "Thanks, this is actually really helpful. Where did you get such a tiny spoon?" I told him it was from my grandmother, and he nodded with something that almost looked like respect. The next morning, that same homeless guy came shuffling back in during the breakfast rush. I braced myself for another confrontation, but something weird happened. Derek saw him approach the counter, and before anyone could say anything, he reached into his pocket and pulled out my grandmother's spoon. "Here," Derek said quietly, handing the spoon to the homeless man. "You can use this for your oatmeal. Just bring it back when you're finished." "Okay." The homeless guy's weathered face completely lit up with shock and gratitude. Derek then turned to me and said, "Give him the hot water, no charge." The man's hands were shaking as he carefully made his oatmeal and found a corner table to eat in peace. When he finished eating, he brought the spoon back to Derek and said, "Thank you so much, sir. This meant everything to me." Derek actually smiled and told him he could come back anytime he needed hot water. Over the next few weeks, Derek's whole personality changed. He stopped timing bathroom breaks, gave people warnings instead of write-ups, and even started keeping extra pastries for homeless folks who came in. That tiny spoon had somehow melted his heart. My grandma was absolutely right. You never know when you'll need a spoon. Sometimes it's not about the spoon itself, but about the kindness and human connection it can create between strangers.